Welcome back to Lost Legacies.
A Hidden City Book Company production.
I'm Matt,
And I'm Sam.
and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year! Woohoo! We did it, guys. We made it. We made it into 2025. 2024 is in the dust.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. New year, new you, new me? I don't know.
New us.
New us.
I'm going to be so much more professional.
Well, it's interesting because we started Lost Legacies during COVID, and it proved to be quite I think it helped, just to survive quarantine and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um so it's kind of interesting that now like we're wrapping up the Arcane section of the podcast,
Yeah.
and we're very soon going to be wrapping up the Lost section.
Dang.
So yeah, it's gonna be a really interesting because we don't know what this next year is gonna bring.
Hmm.
Um, just from a realistic standpoint, it kind of seems like it's gonna be tough. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I don't know. And then we're after Lost, we're planning on jumping into Andor, which again, it's what 12 episode seasons.
Yes.
There's a good chance we're gonna finish Andor by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, look, like me bringing Andor was not a thing to say like, oh yeah, we're like replacing Lost and we're just gonna be talking
Yeah.
about this forever. It's like no, like this was just a show that I really wanted you to watch.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted to talk to you about it. Yeah,
Mhm.
so you know,
And especially because like I've just been out of the whole Star Wars game for a while.
mhm,
I did watch the Acolyte though, which I enjoyed for the most part.
mhm,
I you know I won't agree with everyone in saying that it was garbage. I did enjoy a lot about it, but yeah, I was very disappointed with it. However, I am interested in Skeleton Crew, which everyone's loving, and they said it's fun. Like
yeah,
you can tell by the trailer. They
mhm.
have a Star Wars version of Major Tom. I was like,
Do they?
that's that dude, that's the trailer.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm like, wow. So like I don't know what language that is. It's some Star Wars language.
yeah.
Um, I
Huddies or
think.
something.
I think.
I'm
I
pretty sure
hope
it is.
okay, I'm like, I hope it's not just, like Swedish and I didn't realize it. So far with this podcast, I've chosen all the shows
Mhm.
mostly just because circumstance. Like we chose together to do Lost, you know.
Right, right.
Um there was an alternate timeline where like we picked the magicians because at that time I was like, dude, I don't know, like damn, has it already been that long? Because I was finishing the magicians, I think. I had
Mm.
just finished it. And I was like, dude, I want to watch this again with Sam. But no, we said no, Lost is kind of more iconic. We'll do that.
Yeah.
And then with Arcane, like there's no question, like I gotta do this with Sam. And then Dark, it just kind of I knew I had to watch it with you, and it kind of just fit with the strike.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't watch Lost at the time. So yeah, I don't know. So it'll be cool for me to take like the more I guess viewer audience perspective. That's how we were with I didn't even think about that. Season 2 of Arcane, I haven't seen before, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Neither
like
have I.
yeah. So it'll be the same way with Andor, except you have seen season 1, so
Hmm.
we'll see. I don't
And
know.
and I
It'll
and
be
I
fun.
will be watching season 2 as it comes out.
Oh,
So,
see, that's
you
gonna be
know.
interesting because you'll that means you'll be watching both at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You
yeah.
know? Yeah,
Yeah, probably.
interesting. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited, and then who knows? Who knows how long that'll take? Maybe we'll finish right in time for the holidays this next year. Who knows? Um, or this year. But you were telling me about a movie you watched this weekend. Do tell.
Yes, we talked a fair bit about it on the pod, and uh we had been talking about like, oh yeah,
Mm,
like so like kind of excited,
mm-hmm,
for this and this and I remember it coming up a lot in conversation. Um, and then I just missed it theatrically, just because
mm-hmm,
of life. But yeah, finally sat down and watched Alien Romulus this weekend.
mm-hmm.
Um, and it was good. I enjoyed it. Um, I enjoyed it, and if you can hear that like hesitation in my voice, it's
Yeah.
because I think it's not perfect, and I'm trying not to let the things uh that I like disagreed with or even like not disagreed with. That's the wrong usage. Uh from like a fan perspective of the franchise, tried to just go in with an open mind, open heart, and just being like, hey, I just want to have fun and be a little spooked.
Mm-hmm.
And that for the most part happened. Um, but yeah, I just remember reading when it came out that like so many people were just saying that this was just the greatest hits of the Alien franchise,
Mm-hmm.
and it just isn't. Uh, it's nothing. It's nothing new. It's nothing we haven't seen.
Mm-hmm.
So and yeah, pretty much like I agreed, but I also don't think that it was a bad movie.
Yeah.
You
There's nothing
know?
wrong with greatest hits.
Yeah,
I love
like
greatest hits.
if you wanna take, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
that's kind of the
it
thing.
gets
That's
all
their selling
the
point.
it gets all the mid to not great songs off the album, and it just puts the great songs on an album. There you
Yeah,
go. That's
yeah,
literally
yeah,
what a greatest hits are.
yeah. You get the most popular stuff and you put it in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and when you're talking about the Alien franchise, it's like, okay, like the greatest hits of the Alien franchise, like, yeah, cool. Like, you don't have to deal with any of the other stuff if you don't like the other stuff.
Yeah.
Um, like essentially what this is the Force Awakens of Alien.
Mm.
It is retreading old ground. It is nostalgic while trepidatiously trying to like approach new territory,
Mm-hmm.
or at least just with a new cast and with new characters, not being beholden to the lore of the franchise as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine, and it's cool. Um, but yeah, it just does come across as sort of like, yeah, you're playing to the hits, you're playing to the crowd, and sure, it's a romp, but I am not one of the people that's saying, oh yeah, it's the third best Alien movie. No, like this
Mm.
is no, because yeah, I am gonna go to bat for that original lineup of Alien movies. I'll go to bat for that every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, especially Alien 3, and even now a little bit more Alien Resurrection. So, um,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I'll have to watch it. I really want to. Um, I have to check it out now. I didn't read your letterbox because I want to avoid spoilers, but I did see that you gave it a 3.5 stars. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if that will necessarily go down, on rewatches. I just know that when I was writing my review, there were just a lot of things that I was like thinking about. And I'm like, yeah, I actually really didn't like that. I'm like, oh yeah, like that's
Mm,
actually bad, and I don't like this aspect of the movie either.
hmm.
But I was also trying to just be in that moment where it was like, oh yeah, I'm sitting down, I'm watching this movie, and I am enjoying myself.
I was gonna
So
say, is it fun?
yes, it's fun.
Okay, well then that's good. That's all I need to know because I I wasn't the biggest fan of Prometheus, but I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Especially because it tapped into the whole like exploration side of it. But I absolutely hated Covenant. Like
Mm.
I'm just it was not fun to me. And you said it, you might have said it on this podcast. I don't remember, but you said like out of the whole Alien franchise, it's the most mean-spirited.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, it was just like the decision making and the tone. Like I'm going in wanting to watch an alien movie, man, and like
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing with, the two prequels, is that like they're not really trying to be alien movies,
Yeah.
but
It's
yeah,
because
like
really Scott doesn't want to make alien movies, but that's how he's going to get the funding for his movies to
yeah,
do his crazy sci-fi stuff, And I'm like,
yeah.
yeah. Oh well. Let me see. Did I watch anything? I thought there was something I wanted to talk to you about, but oh yeah, I saw the first episode of Secret Level, which was the Dungeons and Dragons episode.
Oh, how was that?
It was cool. It's 16 minutes and like each
That's
episode,
it?
dude, yeah, each episode is super short.
What?
Yeah, I'm like, oh man.
That
And
I'm sorry, that's lame. I don't like that. Like I'm already
dude,
upset that like most of the season Arcane has been like 38, 39 minutes, you
yeah, I mean,
know?
I get it because like the money and especially a show like this where you have to pay for all these different like IPs. But basically, I just Googled it and the general consensus is like the show looks amazing, but it just kind of lacks any oomph. And I was like,
Mm,
yeah, like I really have no issues with the Dungeons and Dragons episode. It was just like that was it.
mm,
That's my thing. Like I as a fan of D&D, I was just going in looking forward to it and like great. Like they're casting spells. I know what that spell is and visually that's how it's described. I'm like that's rad.
mm,
Different abilities. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like it's cool to actually see this. Because we don't really get to see a lot of that in the older D&D movies. And then we got a lot in this new D&D movie, but that's just 1 2 hour film. There's so
yeah.
much D&D powers and abilities and classes, you know? And like so it is cool to kind of see at least in my perspective from what I know, like this is the first time I've seen some of this in D&D, What does a D&D monk look like? Oh, it's like this
Hmm.
guy. I'm like, okay, cool. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. It was cool. It was fun, but I was kind of thinking, like, if you're not a fan of D&D, do you care about any of this?
Mm,
You know? And I guess I'm going to have to ask myself that when I watch the rest of the episodes because I don't know most of the games, or like I know of them, but I've never played them, and I don't know like the story or the lore. So I'm gonna
yeah.
have to come at it and be like, okay, like, did I enjoy it despite not knowing anything about this game?
Hmm.
So, whereas D&D was the opposite. But also, like, the actual content of the episode was interesting. Um, it's kind of a big revelation at the end, which they spoil in the trailer for Secret Level. I was like, okay, yeah.
Oh.
Um, so I'm watching it. I'm like, I know what happens. It's literally in the trailer, you know. So that was kind of bummed me out. But at the same time, I'm like, what is this? Is this like canon? Is this like quote unquote modern D&D? Because that's gonna ch- that's gonna change some stuff, you know?
Hmm.
Or is this like a prequel? Did this happen like in D&D lore a while back?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's why
yeah.
I'm kind of wondering. I'm like, so basically at the end of it, I was just like, what was the point of showing this?
Mm,
Like I I I think it sucks if you're like, oh yeah, it's not canon. We just made this thing. I'm like,
yeah.
what the hell, Whereas like Baldur's Gate 3, they're straight up saying that like, yeah, all those characters are still living and breathing in the world, and you might see them show up in future stories at some point, whether that's a game or an adventure book or something. I'm like,
Hmm.
cool. That's
That's
cool.
rad. Yeah.
It's also, technically the movie is canon as well,
Yeah.
So at some point if Hasbro wants to use those characters in a book, they can. So I'm thinking like, okay, this little short is either just, oh, we just wanted to do something quick, or it's actual canon. And that's where I'm really like, well, this has big implications. Is this a taste of things to come? Or is this a prequel? Because we've kind of been there, done that already. Like, who knows?
Hmm.
So I don't know. But apparently, I don't know if the episode is out already because not all of them are. I think there's like several of them are though. But they've been teasing the Pac-Man episode, which apparently is set in like I don't know if it's like post-apocalyptic, but apparently it's like a really gritty Pac-Man. I
Yeah.
was like, what? Like, okay, all right. Um, cool. So yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up, talk about some D&D. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I'll have to check it out. Thank you for telling me that it's only like 16 minutes so that I'm not like,
yeah,
taken aback by that.
yeah. And I mean, that could be a good thing because, like I said, I don't know what these other games are, and I'm more likely to watch them because it's shorter.
Mm,
But it was
hmm.
like, damn, man, like, why couldn't they just make this longer? I get it. It's the money. But yeah, it's the money, and the money is what was the antagonist for this Arcane series, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Because I think it was this second season was rushed, you know?
Definitely.
So speaking of which, here we are at last talking about Arcane season 2, episode 9, The Dirt Under Your Nails. That was cool. I like that line.
Yeah. As the title of the episode, I'm kind of like,
I
okay.
yeah, okay,
Y-
so let's just get the nitty-gritty out because I loved this episode, I loved the ending, I loved this show. But it was rushed and we never felt it more than in this last arc, this last
Yeah.
3 episodes.
Yeah.
Um so much. Like if this was I'm just gonna start spitballing, throwing stuff out there just so it's out there and we can move on. But what made the first season so good was the relationship between Vi and Jinx,
Hmm.
which says something because they were split for most of that season. They were separated. But that was the driving force. We lost that this season.
Mm.
Like they ended up teaming up super quick, a lot sooner than anyone would have, you know, than we guessed. We're like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, they're working together. That's what happens when you bring Vander back, I guess. Uh, and then we kind of saw them like go back and forth. They fought real quick, but then it's never really. By the time it ends, like it feels like there's no resolution there. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
like this was for all intents and purposes, Vi and Jinx's show. All the other stuff with Jace and Mel and Victor, that was plot. And they had great story arcs, good characters, but they were always like supporting characters to me, at
Yeah.
least as far as importance. And then it switched this episode, or this season. And it's like they were really, the plot became more of a major character than the relationships. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I guess, yeah, you can blame that on just being rushed, because there's a lot of things that should have worked that I feel didn't, you know? Like I think Jinx's relationship with Isha, I finally looked her name up. With
Yes.
Isha, that worked. I liked it, It was several episodes of them just hanging out, being cool, and you get to see like Jinx kind of change a little bit and grow, with her.
Hmm.
And then when she dies, you feel it. What didn't work was Jace this whole season.
Hmm.
I do like the revelation in this episode, like, oh, he did have more information than we did. But still, it kind of goes back to what we always say about Lost. And I think we said it a little bit about Dark, but it's like communication, people. Just talk.
Hmm.
Just talk to each other. But there's no drama in that. I get it.
I get it.
But it was just really weird. It was really weird. And then how they ended the story with Jason Victor together, that's what we needed to happen with Vi and Jinx.
Hmm.
They keep saying lines like, haven't you figured it out by now? I'm always with you. Like, really? Since when? Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. But then we knew that Vi and that Victor and Jace had a good friendship and they were close. but like all of season one was about splitting them apart. And then
Hmm.
season two was about splitting them even further apart. We never actually really got to see it outside of like one episode.
Hmm.
So for them to have this powerful emotional moment between these two essentially, brothers, these found family, it just, I loved it, but I'm like, I wish I could have seen that.
Yeah.
You know, I that would have made this whole journey more bearable, and I think just more not bearable, but I would have been more invested
Oh yeah,
because it
100%.
wouldn't just be Jace going crazy off his own or fighting a threat.
Hmm.
It would have been this the splitting of these two brothers, and it's like
Yeah.
we never got that story. So yeah, so that's one of the things I felt like suffered because of the constraints. They only got two seasons.
Yeah, I agree.
So but other than that, I really dug everything. I really loved everything. It's just unfortunately those are the two main stories of your show. And I'm not going to say they dropped the ball, but it was rushed and it felt rushed, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And for me, it's just kind of a thing of like, unfortunately, because it felt so rushed, it did sort of impact my enjoyment of the episode. Because
Mm,
I think all in all, like this was a good episode. And
hmm
as far as like a finale goes, like, yeah, this is good. You know, like we're wrapping up a lot of storylines, we're leaving things open, you
hmm
know, which is kind of what we had said, that like this is the end of Arcane, but it's not the end of the world, and it's not the end of the, or it's not the end for this world, and it's not the end for this characters,
hmm
you know. um it's just the end of whatever story they're, you know, the writers and creators are telling here. But yeah, like it is, it you know, it's season one is was S tier, you know, it's an A
Yeah.
plus show.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Season 2, B minus.
Interesting.
B minus, because even though I feel like it had such a strong start, and
hmm
there were a lot of like great moments and a lot of good episodes spread throughout, all in all, this was it. Like this was the season that you had to wrap up all the storylines.
hmm
And you know, it's just like we said, this whole last arc suffered kind of because we had to take a whole episode to put Echo in a whole other universe. And whereas every other arc has the benefit of all three of their episodes
mm
really talking about the world and the story and the situations,
Yeah.
we didn't have that this go around. We really only had two episodes.
Well, I agree, but I don't think that was the problem. I think the problem is we only had two seasons because like I loved
Well,
like
yeah.
what makes Arcane great is the fact that they gave Echo that episode.
Well, yes,
You
yes.
know?
I'm sorry. I don't want it to, I don't want it to come off saying that I didn't like that, because that's the
Right.
kind of
No.
risk that you know, I think they should take and they should have
Yeah.
been taking. But yeah, it is just, it's indicative that like, oh yeah, they only had two seasons to tell the story.
Yeah. Because my counterpoint to what you were saying was like, well, what would that extra episode have done? What would they have shown us? You know? I don't think an extra episode would have fixed the problems.
I
And
mean, no, maybe not.
and I think that's why it's kind of more of the overarching problem. Like this was supposed to be 5 seasons and they had to trim it to two, or not trim
Yeah.
it, but condense it to two. So, yeah, having like an extra episode, I don't think it would have helped. It could have, like, who knows? But I guess I'll call it B my. I don't know. If season one was a 10 out of 10, I still think season two is a 9 out of 10. Maybe
Mm.
an 8 if I'm gonna get critical about it. But like
I would say it's an 8.
I loved everything about it. I love the storylines. Everything hit perfectly. To me, it was just like we didn't get to finish everything, you know?
Hmm.
It was a little rushed. It kind of reminded me of the Penny Dreadful finale, where it's just like, what
Mm.
the hell? Did they just find out like the week like with one episode left that they had to wrap it up
Yeah.
because the whole season was pretty good, and then they just somehow wrap up the whole series in one episode, and it just doesn't work. Whereas
Hmm.
Arcane, I think for the most part it works. It's just like the theming wise, it's kind of weird. Uh, yeah, and also I don't know what's coming next, so we can talk about that later. Let's keep talking about Arcane, but remind me before we end. Let's talking about uh
The
the
future.
the future of the company Fortiche and their next project.
Hmm.
So we'll get to that later. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was heartbreaking. Jinx sacrifices herself. Uh yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It like tough to watch just the start of the episode, like having this character,
Yeah.
having suicidal tendencies,
Uh-huh.
and it's what's
Straight
crazier
up
still is
following
that
through on those like
yeah, a lot of times,
mhm.
it's only because of Echo and because of the machine he has that, he's able to
Yeah.
stop, Jinx from doing this and convinces
Yeah.
her to help, and all that. But yeah, like it's like that sucks. This is like, yeah, it's hard.
So we never got to see it, but I'm assuming he told her about like the alternate world.
Maybe. Probably, I mean, maybe, yeah, probably.
Yeah, because she noticed the machine and it has little monkeys in it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, huh.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, that would have been a conversation I would have liked to seen, but like, because we even mentioned last episode, she says there is no version of me that's good. And we're like, yeah, there is. But
Mm-hmm.
the tragic part of it is that Vi had to die for that to happen.
Yeah.
You know, but we're all over the place. But speaking about alternate realities, I had joked that like, oh, what if Jace is like the mage guy, the magic guy who saves himself? I was like, no, it was actually Victor. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh crap. But I like how he was giving the speech about like in all realities, you're the one to help me see the truth. And in each one, he's giving the stone to little Jace, and it's a different stone in each one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what is that?
Like,
What does
what
that
does that
do?
mean? Yeah.
Because I don't even know what stone he ended up with. Like, I thought it was just generic, and he kind of like turned that into like hex tech.
Yeah.
And then we saw Mbessa was using what's his name's Rictus's those stones, and they were
Yeah.
like almost like a shield spell. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, there had to be like 6 or 7 shield spells just locked in. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I'm like, that's awesome. See, like the whole final sequence, it was cool. I dug it, where like the robot people were up top. Jace is in the same position. He even notices. He's like, oh man.
Hmm.
And then Echo comes in to save the day, and he kind of does. Like he kind of snaps Victor out of it because he explodes and he sees like the other, I don't know what it's called, the arcane,
Yeah.
like, but it's like a particle form, and he's like, what? That's impossible.
Yeah.
Like, oh man. Yeah. All the war, that was cool to see the battle and stuff. I wish we had got more of it.
Yeah.
I loved Vi's outfit through that because she's still sleeveless because sleeves are bullshit. But
Yeah.
she has like the armor, the chest plate on. I was like, that's cool.
Hmm.
Um, but dude, what's his name dies? I think his name is Loris, the big
Loris.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He gets
Uh,
shot with a bunch. He gets Boromired with
uh,
little crossbow
dude,
darts.
just R.I.P. I forgot how to spell it. And it's quick too. I was like, oh, dude. He's like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
that sucks.
Well,
But that,
because he gets shot twice. He gets shot like 3 times, like in the torso, and
yeah,
he's like feeling it, and then he gets shot in the neck, and then that's
yeah.
it. I was like, oh,
But that kid stepped up to
that
fire the thing.
pianist. Yeah,
I was like, yeah, man. I'm like,
yeah,
cool. Um, and I think that punk girl, was she like the bartender? Is she the one who died at the beginning of this?
yeah, yeah,
She was, right, with the blue hair. I was like,
yeah,
oh, that sucks.
yeah.
But fucking Maddie. I
Nolan, you
did you
traitor.
notice? Like did you notice like on the wide shot that it was her, or was it
No.
no, it was when like Caitlyn turned?
Yeah.
Because you see the wide shot of like the Noxus army and stuff, and you see Caitlyn on her knees, and I saw the person holding the rifle to her was long red hair, and the only
Hmm.
one we got is Maddie. I'm like,
It's short red hair, man.
short red hair. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
still, it's like very curly or like
Yeah. Yeah.
frizzy, and
Yeah.
I'm like, you son of a. And sure enough,
Hmm.
that was cool because like we didn't actually need to see or get hints that she turned. It's in it enough, that like she's always like crossing paths with Mbessa, and she's like, and Caitlyn's like, I could take it from here, so she leaves
Hmm.
and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then Mbessa straight up did just like she said, I told you to avoid any kind of, I don't know what
Hmm.
she says,
Like
uh,
personal relationships.
but with coworkers,
Yeah.
entanglements. I think she called it like
Yes.
professional
Yes.
entanglements. And I'm like, oh man, so it was cool. Like there's just enough there to make it like that does make sense.
Hmm.
Also because she was hardcore, she was gung ho about it,
Yeah.
you know?
She was gung ho about it, and then as Caitlyn was like trying to like problem solve and saying like I didn't think it was gonna get this far, kind of just trying to coax her along to be like maybe it won't be so bad, like maybe this is a good thing, like just
Yeah,
trying to like ease her in, like, and now those conversations contextually are like, oh.
yeah.
Yeah, Ambessa presented the knife. You're the one that's slowly twisting it in.
Because I think we were saying like she's the perfect one to be with Caitlyn right now because she's talking sense to her. She's like,
Yeah.
what do you think we should do? Maybe we should do it this way. And I'm like, oh, it's because she was setting
Mm-hmm.
her up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh man.
Man, I would have complained that Vi didn't get to punch her in the face with those giant gauntlets.
Yeah.
But I'll concede because we did get the 1-2 punch that was Caitlyn breaking her nose with her own rifle,
Uh-huh.
and then Mel casting like shield spell and the
Yeah.
bullet ricocheting to like shoot her in the head. I was
I was
like,
like, dude.
well, rest in piss. R.I.P.
Yeah. Yeah.
You died a cop and a traitor.
Yep. Oh
Yeah.
man.
We're not gonna bury you standing up,
Yeah.
like the Noxians. We're gonna bury you 6 feet fucking face down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Speaking of the cops, though, Abe Sapien is back. You
Hmm.
see, like, I wish we had more time with these characters. Like, I would have liked to felt more bad for Loris's death. Like, I did, but we barely got to see him. Didn't really get to know him at all.
Yeah.
Um, this Abe Sapien dude. Uh, Again, I was like, I wish I cared about this guy, but I'm like, good on him. Like, he's gonna die a
Hmm.
hero, and then it failed. I'm like, okay, well, at
Hmm.
least he survived. You know, I was like, dang. But yeah, dude, that was a cool sequence of where they're fighting through the gas. I was like,
Hmm.
oh man.
And then they crack the whole, sphere anyway, and it turns out Victor's not even in there. I was like, of freaking
Of course.
course. That's such
Damn.
that's
Battle
man,
Masters.
man. Yeah,
Damn
Battle Masters.
tacticians. Dude, but when Victor comes out, like he looks crazy.
Dude, he's just like straight up fantasy Ultron.
They even said like that's his new skin in League of Legends.
Hmm.
And they're like going forward, he's gonna look more like his Arcane version.
Mm.
Because if you look at him in the game, he's just a dude in like a metal suit.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
kind of like an evil Iron Man. And I'm like, oh wow. He's basically
Hmm.
like anti-Jace,
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, but like he's all cosmic now. It's like, oh crap.
Hmm. Hmm.
Cool, man.
And he can just do like the sigil magic with his like weird third mechanical arm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that, yeah, crazy.
Uh
Weird.
so yeah, so that's interesting that they're changing the way he's gonna look in the game. I wonder if they're gonna like update his lore or anything. Same thing with Ambessa, because Ambessa's dead now.
Dead. Speaking of, we now have a tally of 4 arcane characters, League of Legends characters that are straight up, for all intents and purposes, dead. Ambessa, Jinx, Jace and Victor.
Well, I don't think any of them are. I think Bess is dead.
Oh, and Bess is dead for sure. All right, I
Yeah.
mean, okay, okay. Let's get into this.
Okay.
Then let's get into this. What the hell happened to Jason Victor?
I don't know, but they're out there doing magic stuff because
Cosmic dancing together.
yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the thing, dude. Victor has to become the Victor who saves Jace.
Hmm.
And that's why he's saying like I need you to do it. So that's and they just vanish same way, well not the same way, but also how Heimerdinger vanished. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't think he's dead. They're just out there. I think like the
Hmm.
arcane or whatever is like binding all the magic. It's maybe it's like a different plane or something,
Hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I think they're still out there for sure.
All right.
Yeah, they're just space bros now, dude. They're doing cosmic dancing.
Hmm.
Ah, now here's the real question. Is Jinx actually dead?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I don't think
And
anyone else does.
I'm I
Neither does Caitlyn.
yeah.
And like that's the selling point. They're like, because Caitlyn's looking at the
She's looking
blueprints.
at the schematics, yeah, the
Uh-huh.
blueprints of the tower and all the,
Yeah.
alcoves and, air ducts and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay.
She
So
straight
she
up
thinks
she
that
straight up Luke Skywalkered it. She
Mhm.
just like got sucked out the vent.
and the fact that what's the very last shot of this show, Matt? It's an airship flying off into the ocean
Yeah.
that as far as we know, no other known character from the show is on that ship.
Yeah.
And then right before, as the music's swelling, it like the frame rate like glitches
Yeah.
very Jinx style, and the words "the end" written in Jinx handwriting come up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, she's alive. You
Yeah.
wouldn't do that if she was
Yeah.
fully
Because
legit.
also, like when she was a kid, she was talking about how she wants to get on an airship and leave.
Hmm.
But also, like if you think about her arc of this season, it's all about breaking the cycle. That
Hmm.
was her talk with Silco in the last episode,
Hmm.
breaking the cycle, unless it's always going to continue. And I think it's very telling how Vi couldn't leave Vander behind.
Hmm.
She was going to end up dying with him, but Jinx could. Jinx stepped up and she took the hit.
Hmm.
She saves Vi by killing herself and Vander, and I think that's part of Jinx's journey of like growing, and Isha was just a part of that to kind of help her move forward, move along. So it's
Hmm.
like we also know how Jinx feels about herself, and it's like, so if she is alive, why would she stay?
Hmm.
Someone who feels that she's a burden and she just brings destruction. And Caitlyn's not going to stop hunting her. So I could very much see her be like, Vi's better off without me.
Hmm.
And yeah, man, I don't know. Ella Purnell pretty much gave a little tribute and said goodbye to the character, but maybe we'll see her again.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I would want to because this was such a cool, it's such a cool ending for her. It's like we don't know. If she had just died, it would be tragic. But the
Sure.
fact that there's clues, and then even Caitlyn like smirks when she's looking at the blueprint, I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, she knows. So like,
Hmm.
I don't know, just the fact that there's hope that she's still out there. But do I want to see a Jinx without Vi?
I mean,
You could, but
you could. Here's the thing, like this entire, it's kind of like we were saying, like the story of Arcane is the story of Vi and Jinx.
yeah,
And even though they are separated for a good portion of season one, it's still their story. We're
yeah,
we're desperately waiting for them to reconnect, come back together. And then in season two, they're split apart, they're fighting, and then there's a tenuous relationship and then
yeah,
some sort of reconciliation. Yeah, yeah, all that stuff. But the story of Arcane is over.
yeah,
So I think there could potentially be story that exists for Jinx away from this because it's like, okay,
Yeah.
she's now survived. She's broken out of the cycle that was the Zahn Piltover, struggle. It's like, okay, that seems to be done with.
Yeah.
So what does Jinx do? What kind of life, what kind of story is there for a character that has known chaos and violence their whole life?
She's gonna go live with the Yordles.
Yeah, she's just gonna
I
go
don't
live
know.
with the Yordles, and Heimerdinger is gonna show up and be like, "Oh, hello, young lady."
Yeah. Yeah, man, I don't know.
And
I
there are 140 League of Legends
yeah.
champions out there. You can't tell me that there isn't at
Yeah.
least one or two that are gonna get into a scrape at some point with
Yeah.
Jinx.
I would love Jinx to show up in something else if done right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I would love for her and Vi to show up in something else if done right. I just
Hmm.
don't want it to be another Mandalorian where he's reunited with Grogu in a spin-off show.
Yeah.
So if you don't watch the Book of Boba Fett, you're not gonna understand why they're back together in season 3 of Mando. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, like I don't know, do better, Star Wars, do better.
yeah.
So I don't know, but before we get into spin-off talks, I would have liked more clarification on Mel's story. Like, what the hell is like the what are they called? The Black Rose,
The
right?
Black Rose, yeah.
Did she straight up like she didn't kill that lady? She probably just like banished her out of that space. But like, I wish I had more clarification. Like, did she really betray them? Like,
I mean, I think so because I think the point was that the Black Rose wanted Ambessa.
yeah,
They didn't want the children. So they
yeah,
didn't want Kino, her brother, or Mel specifically. They wanted Ambessa. But
yeah,
Ambessa is constantly protected by all that like runic magic and stuff. Was never going to let herself fall prey to their trap.
yeah,
Um, so I think the entire idea behind kidnapping the kids was to find somebody that had the magical potential to turn them to their side. So that was the
yeah,
whole thing with kidnapping Mel, her figuring out her power, all that stuff. And then that
yeah.
conversation last episode with the sorceress being like, "Hey, you you can do this. You can get close to
Right.
her. That's why we unlocked your abilities," kind of stuff. So it's like by her accepting this role, she did allow her mother to be usurped and then taken into their clutches,
Hmm.
but only insofar as much to essentially like look them in the face and say like you don't get to have this,
Yeah,
and I'm coming for you, kind of. you
yeah,
know it just did kind of feel like a very like pointed statement. She said something along the lines of like, "I see your face, betrayer or deceiver," or something like that.
hmm,
And as somebody who very recently went through all of the 140 League of Legends characters trying to just look through, find a bunch of
hmm,
cool stuff, um it seems like any character that's associated with the Black Rose has uh, a fairly tenuous relationship, and usually is like the experiment gone wrong, or the
right.
experiment that busted out of their clutches. So it's like that feels pretty much in line. But I feel like maybe, and League of Legends fans, please don't come for me on this, but like could potentially be something related to the void, whatever that is. The void
Yeah,
also seems to be a pretty like huge like power or antagonist that it has powered other characters in the game. So like
yeah,
maybe they're hinting at that, and then that's going to be Mel's journey in like the Noxus spinoff.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. So, and then at the end, we saw that Singh is alive with his daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and she straight up like I don't know, porcelain. Like, is she made up of what like the robotic people were?
Kind of look like it, yeah,
Right?
yeah. She's like
Oh,
this weird, like glass, porcelain,
yeah.
metallic, sort of thing. Which, and they had, they showed the thing,
The little ballerina.
the little ballerina. I'm pretty sure she's also another League of Legends character.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if
Yeah,
they were related, but now they are. Of
now
like,
they are. It's so
okay.
crazy that like Sing is responsible for at least like two characters, sort of three if you count Victor, you know? So it's like
Yeah,
this weird like clockwork girl Warwick, you know, who's Vander
yeah,
turned into this big werewolf, and then Victor technically kind of
yeah,
putting him on the path, you know, to becoming a mage.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder, like, I don't know if they're going to retire champions from the game, but like, and Bess is dead, so what are they going to do with her? You know,
Hmm.
uh, I feel like all the other ones, like Jason, Victor, they'll do something. They'll come back in the game or something. You know, like just something crazy, like to continue
Hmm.
the lore. Um, I don't know. And Bess, she's gone, dude. She was pretty. That was a badass fight, though.
Dude, yeah, talk about a fight, man.
Dude, like one, the fight with her and Mel, with Mel and Caitlyn, but then also when she's just like going to town on the enforcers, I'm like,
Hmm.
oh crap, dude. This is
Yeah.
why she's the one in charge.
It's like that yeah, crazy.
Yeah. The music, phenomenal. Now I can finally go listen to the soundtrack. I think, oh man, I don't even know what my favorite song is probably the French song in the Echo episode where they're
Yeah.
dancing. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
dude, and his last scene where he's just sitting like on that ledge, look at the city just by himself. I'm like,
By
oh
himself.
no,
Man.
bro. You should have said to hell with everyone. I'm staying in this side world.
Right?
It wouldn't have been fair to that Echo, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, and also everybody in this world would be dead. So,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he wouldn't know it. Out of sight, out of mind.
yes, he would.
He would
Yes, he
know it
would.
in his heart of
Uh-huh.
hearts.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but that's cool. Like we finally get to see his power now, which is like the little time hop skip thing, which is
Hmm.
very poignant because that's what his fight with Jinx essentially was last season, but it was in
Hmm.
his head. You know, he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
got shot. Let's do it again." I was like, "Nice."
Yeah.
The last, like, with season one, when I saw that, I'm like, "That's badass," because I already knew what his power was. I'm like,
Hmm.
That's cool." Okay. Um,
Speaking of which, I found out uh in the animated show The Batman, the one from like 2003.
oh, okay, yeah,
So you know it's you know it's a new Batman animated series, and they're like recontextualizing and redesigning a lot of characters and stuff for a newer generation, a younger
yeah.
generation. They redid the Clock King.
Oh, cool.
And you know
One of my
how,
favorites.
one of favorite, one of the best episodes of like the animated series, the
Uh-huh.
OG. Um, he gets an episode in the Batman where he essentially has Echo's power.
Oh,
But
nice.
I think it's something like he figures out and he solves time travel,
Huh.
but he can only go back like a second.
Interesting.
So the whole conceit of the episode is that he figures it out, and then as he's going through like you know he ends up fighting Batman. There are like instances where he's like talking, and then there's a white flash, or like Batman will throw a punch, white flash, and he's like ducking and dodging, doing all this stuff. And then as we start to see it, it sort of reverses, and we see, oh, he's reliving this. Like, so in this initial conversation, Batman decked him, and
Yeah.
then he rewinds, and so he can like dodge. Oh, but then Batman punches him again. Oh, so he dodges that. And then there are even points where he like says like a one-liner and then stops in his tracks and then rewinds time to say a different, better one-liner and then come back. So it's this whole crazy thing. And the thing that clicks in for Batman is that all of this feels staged and rehearsed.
uh,
And he's like, this doesn't make any sense. Like he can anticipate me, but he's also being like theatrical about it. And he's like, it's a show for
well,
him, it's a performance. So then that's what clues him in like something's not right.
you see, that's interesting because I was wondering, like, would Batman feel the same way about himself? Like a sense of deja vu? Like, I feel like,
I think
It's
that's
almost
exactly
like
what happens.
it's almost like I know what I'm supposed to say before I say it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like how is that? That's interesting because
Hmm.
that's kind of what I was thinking about in this episode because Echo keeps pulling the trigger and like it rewinds and Jinx keeps going through the thing over and over and they keep like repeating the lines over and over and I'm like I wonder if she's like how does that feel? Does it just feel normal like we always do? Or does
Hmm.
something kind of start to trigger where you're like, this feels too familiar, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know,
like
man.
they didn't really get to go into it,
Yeah,
in either this episode or Echo's episode.
yeah,
But yeah, like I kind of wonder like if you do this enough, like obviously you the person who's controlling the trigger, like and you're experiencing this, constantly
yeah,
over and over. Is there a certain point if you keep reliving this moment that the other person will be affected by it?
right.
You
Because we
know,
know
and
we didn't mention this, but when they go to 5 seconds, Heimerdinger explodes. So,
yeah, and see,
so
that's what I thought. Like the whole reason he even wins is because he pulls the timer back. He
yeah,
breaks the 4 second rule.
yeah,
So then it's like I thought there was going to be a bigger consequence for that, but I think the consequence is that it just blew up.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
he shorted the system.
yeah.
But yeah, I was worried. I was like, does this mean that Echo's going to die? Like he's gone back too far and he's like pushed himself too far or something. Like that's what I
Right.
thought. I didn't
Well, I
I
think
didn't
it's also
know.
tied to the machine. I think that's what, like, he throws it at Victor.
Yeah.
So I think maybe if he kept holding on to it, he would have. But like Heimerdinger wasn't holding on to it, but he was close enough, and he just
Hmm.
like rips apart. So
Hmm.
I think maybe the fact that he throws it is kind of what does it.
Okay.
It kind of causes
Yeah.
that time explosion.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah. So like in the game, one of my favorite video games, Life is Strange, Max can like jump back in time just like little bits at a time. It's usually only a couple minutes.
Hmm.
Um, but then like the more and more she pushes her abilities, she starts getting nosebleeds and all that stuff. And then there's certain parts where like she just can't use her abilities. So it's really interesting because it's this video game mechanic where you can rewind time and change things.
Hmm.
And so it doesn't feel like a cheat, like you're save scumming and you're like, oh, let me do that again. It's like, no, that's literally your powers. You can't do that. But
Hmm.
then you get to a point where you can't, and you're like, I'm only gonna get one shot at this. Like,
Hmm.
okay, whew. And then things happen, and it kind of she goes into this weird realm where like you can kind of see all the different realities where there's different outcomes. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, okay.
Hmm.
So, and the what's the new game called? Life is Strange Double Exposure. I think that's what it's called.
Yes, yes.
It just came out and it's getting good reviews, but a lot of the fans aren't liking it.
Hmm.
Multiple reasons. Uh, I think the main reason is that Chloe isn't in this game, and Life
Hmm.
is Strange was all about Max and Chloe, best
Yeah.
friends, maybe more than friends. And the fact that Chloe isn't in this is just rubbing people the wrong way, and they're just like, ah. But then also Max acts a little different. I'm like, well, she's like 10 years older, guys. Like, I don't know. So it's a
Yeah.
mix of stuff. But I thought it's interesting because Life is Strange ends with a choice. So there's really only two endings to the game,
Hmm.
and you have to choose. Well, the second one incorporates that, so you get to choose, okay, like which ending did you pick?
Hmm.
But the second game, Double Exposure, Max doesn't have her time travel abilities anymore. But she
Hmm.
does have abilities to step into an alternate timeline. So
Ooh,
she can't
interesting.
rewind time, but she can step into an alternate one. And
Hmm.
the concept is like when her friend is murdered, well, she steps into this alternate timeline where she's not murdered.
Hmm.
So she's trying to solve the murder by going back and forth between these two timelines. I'm like,
Hmm.
that's cool, okay.
That is interesting. Okay.
But taking a game like Life is Strange where there's literally two endings and not incorporating that into the game that has two timelines, and that just seems like bad writing to me. I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
You literally set up two different timelines and you don't incorporate them into the game. Like,
Yeah, that's very strange.
yeah, that life is strange, Sam.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I don't know how we started talking about life is strange. I guess
Time
time
travel.
travel.
Yeah.
Also, the comic books do the same thing as well because the the comic book continues on from one of those endings.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but as it goes on, Max starts getting flashes from the other,
From the other ending.
yeah, from the other timeline. So it's like these two kind of timelines kind of starting to merge together. I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, this is
That's cool.
interesting.
That's fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's potential to do more of Echo in the future. We'll see. But not much is known on the spin-offs they're doing, but they did say the animation quality was not going to be up to par to Arcane because it costs too much money and it takes
Hmm.
so long to make. So they
Yeah.
said whatever going forward, it's not going to be like that.
Hmm.
Um, However, they
Okay.
did say the next series they're making has already been in production for over a year. Like,
Okay.
ooh, so it's not that. I'm thinking. I don't think we'll get it in 2025, but maybe 2026. We'll see.
I think we'll get an announcement next year,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry. We'll get an announcement in 2025.
this year, yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
year. Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll see. But they did say that they're working on three separate series.
Yeah. Hmm.
One about Noxus,
Hmm.
which we'll probably see Mel.
Yeah.
One on Ionia, and
Okay.
another one on I think it's pronounced Demacia.
Yes.
So I'm like, interesting. And that's the one I was talking about last week of like, that's like more kind of like knights,
Hmm.
And it kind of feels more fantasy, kind of like not Noxus, but yeah, I don't know. And then
Hmm.
Ionia, I don't remember what that one is.
I was looking through and like the characters the other day, and I'm pretty like it has kind of a like South American kind of feel to it. Like it feels very like jungly and coastal.
Interesting.
Hmm.
I have my Realms of Runeterra right here.
Ah, try seeing that 5 times fast.
Oh, okay, Ionia. Yes, yes, yes. The First Lands. Very interesting. Like I don't know any of the characters from here. I would have to look them up. It's interesting because like it feels kind of Avatar to me, the James Cameron version.
Mm,
I see what you're saying though. Living architecture, that's rad.
mm.
Um, I forgot this is a podcast and y'all can't see these pictures.
I also can't see these pictures, so this is just
Oh,
for your benefit.
okay. I will say Caitlyn rocks that eye patch
Yeah,
and the black turtleneck. I'm like, come on, man. What
come
is this?
on.
G.I. Joe? Like, ah, yeah. So I like it how there wasn't like a happy ending. It's like it's continuing on. But then Savika, she's on the council now. I'm like, okay, I
Yeah,
like
I thought
this.
that was cool.
Yeah, progress, a little bit, baby steps forward, but still forward.
Hmm.
And yeah, man, we'll see what happens. But I'm also curious about the the overarching implication, like on the world, because like is hex tech still a thing? Or did like because whatever Jace was doing didn't work because Victor just like turned it back on, So I'm like, is hex tech still a thing?
I don't know if it is because I feel like there's a shot somewhere, but I don't know if it was related to like when Jinx and Warwick fall and her like bomb goes off, or if it was something related to like Jason Victor. But I felt like we saw a shot down of to like the reactor,
Mm.
and kind of very Star Wars like, like we're getting shot down, and I thought I saw like the light just like shut, like turn
Oh,
off.
okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know that they actually do have hex tech anymore.
Yeah. And then like so the hex gates would probably not
Be
work either.
closed. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that kind of cuts off travel to at least super fast travel to the rest of the world, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I'm excited for whatever comes next. Me personally, I would have loved a show in Bilgewater, which is like the pirate islands. I think that would just be so rad. That's
Hey,
where
maybe we'll get one. Or
maybe that's
maybe
where
it'll
the
show up, somewhere else.
yeah, that's where the video game I always forget the name of it, but the video game takes place, Shattered King or something like that. Um yeah, and they got redheaded pirates and
Uh,
and yeah, it's awesome. Um
cool guys wielding anchors for weapons.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed Arcane as much as we did. It's been a awesome, awesome ride. It's bittersweet because it's over, but at the same time, like we still have hope that like we're getting more.
Yeah.
But that's also what I felt about The Expanse, and it's been years. Come on.
Hey
So
man, they're doing their own thing. They're gonna,
I think they're
yeah,
actually gonna wait 30 years to come back. Like
maybe they're gonna wait. It's gonna be a time.
I think it's gonna be 10 years.
Yeah,
What year did it end?
19,
Oh, really? Okay.
I think,
I don't know.
or no, because I think it. I'm gonna look it up really quick because I feel like it ended during the pandemic.
Oh, okay. Maybe 2020.
Let's see.
It's
It
just
was
trick.
on the it was on the year 2015 to 2022.
Oh, 2022?
Yeah.
Damn. Was it
It
long
was
at all?
early. It was like March or April when it came back,
Still, that
and it was
wasn't that
only
long
six
ago.
episodes.
3
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's kind of like it's makes you nervous because you're like, well, what happens if something happens to one of the actors or something like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Oh man. Oh well. That's the benefit of animation.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um
And
yeah,
hey, it's crazy. We finished two shows on this podcast in their entirety
before
before Lost.
Lost. Yeah, yeah.
Shout out to us.
Yeah,
Shout out
shout
to
out
us
to
for
us, man.
going above and beyond, for utilizing our ADHD and being distracted by other shows to,
Yeah,
come here and be like, "Hey, we know, but
yeah,
these other
yeah,
shows are rad." So,
exactly. But we'll be back next Monday. That's right. Lost Legacies. We're talking about Lost on Mondays again. The
mm-hmm.
final 10 episodes of
Yep.
Lost. We'll see what
It's almost
happens.
like
We're also dealing with alternate timeline shenanigans, so we'll see what
mm-hmm.
happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
It's
yeah,
almost
let's
like we did that on purpose.
right. I didn't plan that. Um, so yeah, listeners, let us know who's your favorite Arcane character. Who's your favorite League of Legends character? Are you gonna try and play the game League of Legends? I'm playing Team Fight Tactics right now because it's a lot easier than League of Legends, but it's still very difficult. And I still keep getting pawned. Is it called pawned?
Pwned.
Pwned. I just keep getting
Yeah.
pwned.
Wow.
And I don't like it, guys.
Is it the
Um,
mobile game?
yeah.
Mm.
It's cool though. Uh, but yeah, let us know what stories would you like to see in this world of Arcane. And I think if you don't know anything about League of Legends, like us for the most part, it's kind of hard to predict because we don't know a lot about the world,
Hmm.
And what I do know, it's a lot different than what's portrayed in Arcane. So it kind of feels like because of that, the sky's the limit. Like they can do anything.
That's true.
Well, y'all, follow us on the socials. We don't have anything Arcane to talk about anymore, but I hope you stick with us. Um, I'm on just look for us at hashtag Lost Legacies. I'm on Instagram and Threads at Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch, and on Blue Sky at Matthew Jimenez.
And you can find me on BluSky, Instagram, and Threads at Real. That's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
You guys have really brought new life to the podcast because we're getting so many listens on the Arcane episodes, especially our Get Jinxed episode. But yeah, so just thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had a rad time, and I hope you stick around for the last 10 episodes of Lost, and then we'll see what goes on from there.
Yeah.
So, but as always, and especially in 2025, look out for
Look
each
out for
other.
each other.